Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here for the TWC Show, episode 100. I don't know how we got to 100 episodes, but we did. And I thought if we're going to go to episode 100, we got to bring it way back to the original co-host, the man himself. Devon, what is going on? Where have you been? Welcome back to the show, my dude.
Man, it's good to be here. Do you remember how much of a process it was just to getting to number one?
Yeah, just to get number one. Months of us saying we should start a podcast.
Years.
And me being such a perfectionist, like, no, we need a studio. We need someone to record it in video form. And then we linked up with Sonu, the producer. We had the studio. We recorded a solid 36 episodes there. We went there I think it was every Thursday night. We would go to the studio.
Yeah, like Wednesday or Thursday, something like that.
I think it was every Thursday night because I think that was when SmackDown was still on Tuesdays.
And you know what? Was I still working in Chilliwack during that time? I think I was.
I think you were, because you would drive there and you'd come here and we'd get there like the studio, like 7?
Yeah.
7, 8 p.m. We'd be there till like sometimes 9, 10. Occasionally, we did a doob after recording.
Man, I'm glad to be here. We're at a time right now where a lot of the shows are actually getting kind of watchable again, and I'm here to bring the power of positivity. I'm gonna try and turn the page on some of my old ways, and I'm ready to be a little bit more upbeat today. I think.
I wonder how many people.
I'm sure you're gonna say a bunch of stupid shit that I have an issue with, but I think in general, the state of wrestling is in a much more happier place.
Well, there you go. Because I think a lot of the people are gonna miss you calling me out, because regardless of all the random plethora, cycle of co-hosts I've had in the past few months, most of them tend to
just the Spirit Squad, basically.
Yeah, most of them tend to agree with me. I think people are gonna miss that person that says, "Justin, you're wrong," and that was usually you.
And you know what the thing is, though, so much of what we talk about, there is no wrong or right. I mean, I feel like I'm right, you feel like you're right, but
it's all opinion.
There's no mathematical answer for a lot of these things we talk about in the world of wrestling.
It's true. Before we dive into the week of wrestling, I do want to talk more about episode 100. I know a lot of you are wondering, did you do anything special for it? Is there going to be a giveaway? Like, what's the situation? No, I did not plan anything special or important. The biggest thing I want to make sure I did was have Devon on here for episode 100. But I might do a giveaway in the next couple of weeks with one of my chalk line jackets, because I realize I have way too many and I don't wear them all. So maybe we'll give one away. But
maybe do a little giveaway upcoming soon, and then you know what? Maybe we can plan something maybe a little bit better for 150. I'm sure the world will be opened up a little bit. Maybe we can see, if there's a specific town or a spot or event around the time of 150. Maybe me and you can hop on a plane, head out there, and maybe meet up with some of your fans, your followers, your legions, the misfits. Maybe even Sock Monkey Mike will make an appearance. Who knows?
Maybe even Sock Monkey Mike will make an appearance. You remember the early days? You always wanted to be on the show, and I think it was like episode 8 or 9 or something when you were busy that week and had to do the show alone. And I had Nick Days and from the Veterans Minimum Show join me, as well as AJ Francis, who was on the early episodes of the TWC Show, is now like Hidden Treasures host and like part of Hit Row on NXT, and I'm like, yo, that's my boy. He was on the TWC Show a long time ago.
He's I hate to say it, but he's living the dream right now, man. And by all accounts, it looks pretty well earned. He's good at what he does. He's well spoken. Seems like a smart guy. I mean, you love to see it. Wrestling fans making it in wrestling. It's just a happy thing to see.
No, he's a good dude.
And Hit Row is dope, dude.
Really? You like Hit Row? I never. What's your opinion on Hit Row?
Hit Row is dope. I'm a fan, but I mean, like, I just think Swerve's such a cool guy. So I mean, it's hard to miss.
I'm so happy for Swerve. I'm so like, for someone that I got to meet a long time ago due to him like working shows around here in the West Coast, Pacific West Coast, like. Working shows here in Vancouver and stuff, and then also working shows down in Defy and stuff, shows I drove down to go check out. Like,
he's one of those guys that he's had some success in the sort of 205 bubble, and he's managed without wasting years and years of his young life to break out and do bigger and better things on the main show there. So I mean, like. What they always say, as your favorite always says, the cream always rises to the top. And he's not an overnight sensation, but he's been making pretty steady moves towards the top. and it's like I said, not an overnight sensation, but well deserved, man. They're just cool. Some people just look cool. They just look cool.
No, for sure, man. I'm kind of vibing with them so far. I don't know. They're still new for me. I like the theme song.
Yeah, and I think NXT is I think they're better off on Tuesdays right now. And as a hardcore NXT fan, there's a lot of work to be done there to make it more prominent. I think right now, if you were to say, hey, SmackDown, even Raw is the main roster, and NXT is NXT. A year or two ago, maybe a little bit different, but now I think it's in the spot right now where it's clearly sort of the underleague, but they're building a few things, and if you want to get into that, we can get into that in a little bit. So I'll defer to you.
Yeah. Before we get into all the wrestling stuff, though, guys, if you haven't already, please check out the Patreon. You can subscribe as low as $2. Everyone that already is subscribed, thank you. You guys get all the TWC shows in video form. You get all of my interviews early. I just interviewed JTG, former member of Crime Time, and now killing it in NWA and on the independent scene. It's gonna be coming out in a couple of weeks for everyone. But if you're a Patreon member, you can check it out already, video and audio form. I appreciate, and also about the Patreon before I move on, is that you guys also get discounts on toys. If you are an action figure collector, if you want to reserve figures before they come out, if you want to know what's going to come out soon, make sure you go sign up to the Patreon. Robbie of Rain City Toys is the other half of the Patreon, and he gives you discounts on toys, first say to reserve stuff, and he gets everything, man. So if you're looking for something that might have came out that you can't find on shelves anymore, he might actually still have it. You can check him out at raincitytoys.com. But if you sign up to the Patreon, you get discounts on that, Wrestling Classic merchandise, bonus audio, interviews, etc. All that early. So sign up to the Patreon. Secondly, thank you to everyone that checked out the interview with TJ Wilson. That one just dropped on July 1st. A lot of great feedback, great conversation. Really enjoyed talking about TJ Wilson. The stuff that he said.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. I recommend everybody check
that one out. Lana.
That one's a fun one.
About Lana on the show went a little got some headlines in the news and stuff, so it was pretty cool.
When you get to sit down one-on-one with these guys, you turn out a good product, man. I think you're very natural. You're pretty down to earth, and it seems like you could tell you're a fan, but you're not like you're not overly marky or anything. I don't know. It just turns out good when you have those one-on-one conversations.
The most nerve-wracking one was Bischoff.
Yeah, I definitely recommend everybody check out Justin's interviews. They're killer, and they're just really nice conversations.
Thanks, man.
And if you want to jump into the Lana thing on Jericho, I got some thoughts. I listened to that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm asking you. So I want to say if you guys want to check out those interviews, if you already subscribed to the TWC show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you get the interviews. But if you go on my YouTube channel, it's a casual conversation section playlist. That's all the interviews. But let's talk about Lana talk as Jericho, because she said a lot. And people even started giving Roman backlash because he didn't want her to do a table spot, because he had a table spot in his match. And
well, a couple things. I mean, you hear it from, if you ever listen to, let's say, Arn Anderson or even JR. When let's say you're making an album, right? You don't repeat a lot of the stuff. If you have a nice 12-track album, you got a little bit of everything. You're not doing a whole lot of repeats. You have your party hit. You might have your ballad or melody, like, you know what I mean? Wrestling's entertainment, and I don't imagine, and I don't think Lana was trying to say, oh my God, Roman prevented us from doing that. He rightly said, hey, this is part of our match. We're the main event, and sort of, there is a pecking order for certain things. I think people like to take things out of context, especially if they're reading, the excerpts instead of listening to it. She wasn't trying to say that he was like, a speed bump or prevented them from doing something. She was just saying, hey, this got changed up because, the Roman's match had a similar spot. And I didn't hear in her voice that she was like trying to put anything on Roman or anything like that.
Same here. And honestly, it's weird because I see both ends of the argument, because on the one side, it's like, yeah, well, if he's doing that spot, maybe he doesn't want everyone to be doing that same table spot throughout the show because he wants that to be the big moment in his match. And, if there's already a table spot earlier on in the night, sometimes that takes away from your table spot. And it goes as like, I watched an episode of AEW Elevation the other day, and this bothered me. And I was like, yo, there's a fucking suicide dive, a tope suicide.
I was gonna actually refer to AEW and say, if they cut out a bunch of their spots earlier in the night, it would make the stuff that happens later in the night seem a lot better. It's still, especially a show like that, comes off very indie because it's like just so much of the same shit, and
Every single match, every single match had a
not necessarily the exact same thing, but it's just like you said, something that's so similar, your brain just associates it as being the same.
Yeah, but then I do see the other side. I do see the other side where you might be like, well, you know, it was a women's match, so it's separate. Like, you know, let them have that spot. It wouldn't have hurt Roman's spot. Because I don't think it would have. Personally, I don't think it would have hurt Roman's spot anyways. But what the fuck do I know? And
no, and
then
you know what?
Then there's the side I don't.
That's a very old school way. That's a very old school way of planning a show, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if you're in the main event.
And then there's the other side.
If he was in the fourth match and she's in like the first or second match, then it's just kind of like, all right, buddy, you might have a repeat spot. But if you're the main event, I mean.
Yeah, but then there's that whole argument that people are trying to make, which is stupid. And this is the one I think is stupid, is the fact that Roman was trying to hold back the women and wouldn't let the women have a spot. That's just a narrative you're creating, because if he said that to another dude on the card, I don't think you'd be this offended.
And chances are, I mean, we're only just hearing about Lana's story because she got released recently. Chances are there were other, I mean, what was that, Survivor Series?
Yeah.
So chances are there was another match that considered it, and it was probably Roman's match has this spot. Nobody can have this spot in the match. It probably wasn't just Lana, but everyone else is still working there. So obviously we're not going to hear about it, right?
No, 100%. We only hear the stuff when people do leave and they start doing interviews. Was there anything else on that episode that really connected with you?
No,
I'm curious to see what the show she got pitched to her is.
If you're like me and you went to it from a spot where you just really, really dislike Lana, not only because her voice is annoying, her ring attire is just super annoying, and she just the way she presents herself, like she's some sort of like I don't know. It made her a lot more likable, I'd say, especially if you're coming from a place like me that really didn't like her. And, I get she works hard, and it really sounds like she really cares about wrestling and all this and that. But you know what? We all try things, and that doesn't necessarily make us good. No matter how hard she works and how much she tries, it doesn't change the fact that she's a bad wrestler. I mean, the way she talks about it, like, okay, I get it. You try really hard, you work really hard. Like, I'm 5'6". No matter how hard I try, I'm never gonna be able to slam dunk a basketball in an NBA hoop. Like, we can try, but it doesn't make us good. So, I mean, that it sort of doesn't change the fact that she's kind of not athletic and not.
Was she getting better? Sure, but was she great? No.
And even the way she talks about her acting and stuff is just like, I mean, you did a Russian really good, but you're also kind of Russian. Everything else you did, that there wasn't good acting at all.
Yeah, everything after the Russian stuff wasn't good.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, it was good. If you're looking for something juicy with a bunch of burials and all that, you're not going to get it from that. I think she was very respectable, and I mean, it was decent. Like I said, I ended up hating her a little bit less. She came off pretty well. Boy, is her fucking annoying. Jesus Christ!
That's my thing with her always. Was I never hated her, but I did find her annoying. I remember when I first saw her in Total Divas, outside of like being Lana, and I was like, oh wow, she's annoying.
The only thing I remember about, because I never watched Total Divas, but I remember seeing this clip where she was like to Nia, like, you don't even know how to cut a promo or something like that. And I was like, you know what? You can't deny that. That is pretty true. And she made the comment too about how anybody who wrestles Nia is kind of like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah. I mean, she had balls to feel on her mind and shit like that.
I would so bad, Nia. Oh my god, she's a worse wrestler.
I also thought that Survivor Series finish where she was the winner because the other two got disqualified was pretty fucking creative. It never did happen before, so I kind of like that better than her. Like, she know how she never got in the ring because Nia wouldn't let her, but then Lana became the sole survivor. Like, I know she was upset that she never got to wrestle, but it's like, yo, you get to be a part of a moment that's never happened before. And
yeah, I remember not hating it.
And at the end of the day, most non-hardcore wrestling fans will remember moments, and they're going to remember the matches and what you did.
And that goes back to what I was saying. Like, you know what? I think in any company, there's a spot for her on the show, especially I think if she's doing more healer stuff as a babyface. I don't think she's good at all. That constantly smiling thing stopped being a thing people like in like the 80s. And, her ring gear was always bad. And she's just like I said, she's just a bad wrestler. So her not getting to wrestle isn't necessarily a bad thing. She's just not good.
You see her going to AEW though, right? Like, she's going to be a mirror.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think so.
I think her and Miro. That being said, they released Aleister, but now Zelina's back.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see Aleister back because and I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of communication with who's getting released. And I mean, Samoa Joe is the main one that sticks out. And I think, I think a lot of us had a feeling too, like, there's no way he can be gone, because he was such he's just so perfect.
He's too big of an asset to lose to go anywhere else, anyways, too. And I was saying this on the show when Joe was being released. I'm like, the thing with Joe is, I'm like, even if he goes to AEW, and I think and when there's rumors about him coming back to NXT, I'm like, the thing with Joe is like he could come back to NXT or he could go to AEW because he's been around long enough and done enough in his career where he could mentor and teach people things. Like he's at that position, but he's still useful in the ring and being an on-screen character. But he's so useful in so many different factors that anybody would be lucky to have him. So for Triple H to bring him back made so much sense because not even say if he's not clear to wrestle yet, like and he does wrestle on NXT, it's dope. But he's also there working with these younger guys on NXT that could learn shit from him because he's been around the block. He's worked independents. He's worked in other companies. He's been in WWE now. Like he gets all the systems. Like
Yeah, and honestly, I think ever since the post game show version of NXT, the NXT that we know now, I mean, Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens are probably the two best talkers that have ever come out of there and probably in the company, period. So, I mean, when you can talk like that, there should always be a slot for you in a wrestling company.
Okay, so I want to read this. This is what Tommy and aka Aleister Black said on his Twitch stream yesterday. After Zelina's return, he went on Twitch to play some video games and talk to the people. And he was like, the last 8 months of my life have been absolutely horrible. I've been sitting around the house thinking, what the fuck are they going to do with me? Getting released from my contract was the best possible scenario. I feel like this was meant to happen to me. So the answer to everyone's question is no, I won't be coming back to the WWE, at least not anytime soon. So he's not really it out, but he's saying, honestly, after what happened with my run there now, and he's been very kind about being released. He's talked very highly about everyone after being released. He talked about all the creative ideas that they pitched that didn't go through about after being released. But I think there is merit to the fact that he's like, yo, they really didn't do anything with me. They made me sit at home for 7 months. Brought me back for a month with vignettes and a kick, and then released me.
They were really.
I wouldn't want to go right back either.
They were really going to be onto something with that character, man. How excited were you for that?
Have you heard they talking about what it was supposed to be?
Yeah, and then it was just gone. And oh man, I was so excited for that.
Same here. I'm an Aleister Black fan. I've been saying since the beginning of this show.
Dude, when he came back
with the TWC show, I've been singing Aleister Black's praises.
When he came back with those vignettes, you were the first person I thought about.
Yeah, because I just think he had the look. I remember going all the way back to Royal Rumble, I think 2020, when Brock was in the Rumble. I'm like, they should have just done Aleister versus Brock. What are we doing here? Like, I fuck with Aleister Black. And once again, I can see him killing it wherever else he goes. But I think there is a little bit more of a chance he'll come back now that his wife is back. But he doesn't seem like he wants to. But he also could just be saying that to deter any rumors. I'll tell you this right now. Zelina Vega never once really said she was coming back or was in conversations about coming back or anything. I think a lot of us thought she was going to show up in AEW to be Andrade's surprise. There's some funny memes out there about that. But I will say that
she's not an idiot, man. She's going to go there. She's going to get paid, and she's going to earn her money while she can earn it.
No, 100%. And I asked her for an interview one time. I was like, just hop on. I'm like, yo, we don't even have to talk about wrestling, like your release and stuff. We talk about you growing up a wrestling fan, and then just talk about your Twitch and shit. 20-30 minute interview. Like, we don't have to talk about the release. We don't have to talk about any of that bullshit. And she's like, listen, I'd be so down, but I'm just trying to figure some shit out right now. So technically I can't right now. And then I was like, oh, this is probably it. Like
100%. And yeah. I'll make one comment, and we don't gotta get stuck in here because we can end up talking about it for hours.
Yeah.
But you look at somebody like Aleister Black, even Zelina, and it's very interesting that every single person you see on the NXT show, nobody feels like they don't belong there. Everybody feels at least somewhat decent.
Yeah.
The old Paul Heyman, highlight the positives and hide the negatives. And it's just absolutely crazy how people go. Not even so much SmackDown now. Everyone goes to Raw, and you'll make your money, but your creative happiness is pretty much dead the moment you show up there. It's actually insane how creatively bankrupt they can be with. And I mean, if you look at some of the people who get over, I mean, if you're promoting properly and then writing properly, you can really make anyone seem like a star, and it's just very interesting.
It's very micromanaged. So if
I
you're
would very much prefer having Aleister in WWE than anywhere else, but it is what it is.
I would be, if he came back and just continued what he was doing with Big E, like nothing ever happened, I would be okay with it because it's fine. But I actually don't mind him being anywhere else. But once again, it's just whoever does get him, wherever he does go, I just hope they understand the potential they have with him.
Because with him, I feel like he's perfect for the upper to main event WWE style, like pay-per-view matches. Like, I don't know. I think he's just made for it.
Yeah, no, same here. I'm not against it either. He doesn't seem like he wants to come back, but I think he might. Who knows? On Zelina's point though, like, I don't know, WWE, they did release a lot of women in the past year, women that were quality top tier, like the Iconics and Zelina Vega and Mickie James, some shocking names, obviously. And we came to a point where we realized the last since WrestleMania, I'll say, we realized that with Sasha gone, the SmackDown women's roster depleted down to Carmella, Liv, Bianca, and Bayley. And I guess Natty and Tamina, but they're on all shows.
As long as
there's no one on the show.
As long as Naomi is still losing matches, I'm okay. I said as long as Naomi keeps losing matches, I'm okay.
Wow. Why is that? She's on Raw.
I'm sorry. There's plenty of athletic, acrobatic people in the world. No character, not a good wrestler. I'm tired of people standing and putting on their capes for her.
Damn, this guy hates Naomi. But I know there's a plethora of women in the NXT roster they could have called up to put on SmackDown. But
I hope they never do. I think they're all much, much better off in NXT.
The NXT women's roster is the best women's roster in WWE.
Cool, man, from the Champ to Dakota to Io to The Way or whatever the hell they're called. I mean, like, there's just so many, and it's just I don't even my brain doesn't even compute whether it's like the women and the men half the time in NXT. Like, it's just good stuff. It's just good shit. It's just good shit.
And they are actually equally booked in like regular, normal storylines, all the same style. Like, there's no like high school storylines happening in NXT like there really is on the main roster.
I don't ever want to see Io Shirai on the main roster. God, she's so perfect down there. I don't ever want her to get ruined.
Do you think they're gonna scrap 205 Live? Because after the Singh brothers, Arya Daivari, and Tony Nese guys got released, I started looking at the last episodes of 205 Live, just kind of see what the Singh brothers were doing and stuff, because I wasn't really watching every week, and I wanted to check it out and show some love and shit. I'm like, yo, they really just used these four guys on 205 Live for months.
That's it. It's the Singh brothers.
They're gone. I know there's still guys there that could be on 205 Live, but I think it's done. Like, just wrap it up.
They should just keep it to a division on NXT. Kushida's been
put the cruiserweights on NXT and just call it a day, because
Kushida's been one of the best guys in the company for the last few months.
Yeah, I think 205 Live's a wrap in my mind.
I think once Enzo was gone, it was pretty much a wrap from there.
Because I tried to see what they were going to put on yesterday. I was like, oh, let's see what they do put on 205 Live. And then it ended up being like the NXT breakout tournament qualifying matches with some guys I didn't even know WWE had signed, which also shows me that WWE has a lot of guys signed, because there's some guys that were on that breakout tournament matches. And I was like, who the fuck are these guys? And I knew one of them, Joe Gacy, because like I know him. And I had but I didn't even know he was signed. I didn't even know he was signed in WWE.
I'm unfortunately not looking forward to that at all. It doesn't. And you know what it is? It has nothing to do with the tournament or with the guys. But after seeing just how they treated 205 Live, I don't think I can actually allow myself to get invested in anything like that ever again.
It's a show that people forgot even more than main event. And I think it's just wrap it up, put the cruiserweight. Honestly, the cruiserweight should still be on Raw. It's a 3-hour show. We have more than enough fucking.
I think that would be fantastic. But I would actually like that. Like, dude, before when they used to have the 1 or 2 segments, like, I liked it. I
did too. I didn't like the fact that they changed the ropes and made it all purple, but they should just let them be there. Oh, and the other thing I didn't like was every once in a while.
Why did he even re-sign with them?
And the worst thing is the cruiserweight. Sometimes I hate the fact that they segregated the cruiserweight so much. Like, you can never get like a cruiserweight against a Seth Rollins to have like a match. Like, you knew Seth was probably going to win, but at least it'd be a really good match, and you're not beating another top guy.
Yeah,
But
like even how big of a shit show WCW was, at least they still kind of fought everyone.
yeah, like Scott Hall fought Jericho, Ray would fight Nash. Like they'd mix it up sometimes with the cruiserweights. El Dandy and Bret Hart. Who better than
Hey,
El Dandy?
don't ever doubt El Dandy, all right?
Don't doubt El Dandy.
Never ever doubt El
He's a jam up
Dandy.
guy. Happy belated birthday to the Hitman. It was his birthday yesterday. And happy 4th of July to you Americans, and happy Canada Day to you Canadians. It's that time of the year. Did you listen to the Singh brothers on Xbox and Nick Hossman, good old Nick Hossman, who annoys the shit out of me, their show?
The most annoying voice in the entire planet.
He's probably a great dude. It's just his voice.
Oh yeah, he seems great. He's just got a super like he's good at his job, and I mean he's obviously a good host, and
his voice annoys me. That's all it is.
Steady hard work, but oh god, is his voice annoying? Jesus. Mm-hmm. He's super preachy on Twitter too. Sometimes it's like, relax, dude. Like, let people know.
This is where I've come in my cycle of dirt sheet writer since the beginning of the show. Because at the beginning I was very iffy about lots of people. I still feel how I feel about Meltzer. I like Ryan Satin. He's doing his shit on Fox. It's cool. I'm starting to really like Sean Ross Sapp.
Sean Ross Sapp is the best reporter in wrestling, but God, that guy's a fucking insufferable dork.
Okay, maybe that's true, but I do like
garbage opinions, and he talks about matches like, dude, you're just a bearded dude with long hair with like the rest of us. Don't talk about how the match was put together and how. Yeah, he's a really good reporter. You can believe the shit he says.
I trust his shit. That's what I was gonna say.
The shit he says, but it was kind of like Satin. Satin is an incredible reporter, but his opinions are garbage. Also seems like a super great guy. Sean Ross.
I can confirm that Satin's a great guy.
Sean Ross Sapp seems kind of smug, like he thinks he's better than a lot of people. But I don't know the guy personally, but he's a fantastic reporter. He's very good at his job. But those guys I just know to ignore the opinion stuff and just look for the stories.
Yeah, so that's what I was remembering, because like I know we've never talked about that, but I started following Sean Ross a bit more when it comes to actual news to get the right news, because he seems to be very accurate, and
the guy's never wrong, and obviously has good sources. He's always on it.
Yeah. But enough plugging the dirt sheet, guys. The Singh brothers on there. Listen, let me tell you something about those guys. And I didn't really talk about it in depth last week.
Fuck, I love those guys, man.
You cannot deny that those guys fucking work. Like,
dude, look where
they put in the work, and they're trading all the fucking time, and they've been doing this shit forever.
Look where they came from, look where they went, and look how long they stayed, and they're definitely not done. They're getting props from Randy Orton, dude. Come on,
Mick Foley, everybody, and dude, I've seen them live. Whether with the WWE, now I went back and I watched them the 205 shit. Like, they were trying to come up with characters, they were trying to pitch shit, and they were right. Like, they're like, dude, we tried to like take every moment we got and put shine on it and make sure we shine, even if it was like a 2-minute run-in or something. And if you go back and watch any of the shit they did, those guys are bumping machines. Like crazy bumps for no reason. They're taking crazy bumps at house shows for no reason.
They were pretty good on the mic too.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bummer. I do think we'll see them again soon somewhere. I know they're not going to quit. I know them personally, so I know they're not going to quit. And they're not gonna...
We got robbed of seeing them against guys like New Day and so on and so forth.
I mean, we got robbed from a lot of tag teams with these releases of just ridiculousness. But I'm wishing for the Singh brothers. Go check out that interview. And those people that are like, oh, they're saying they were going to be major stars, and that they could have been, right? Like, why would you fucking doubt anybody who is just trying to be the best? If you're not trying to be the best in your own profession, then what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not sure why you would even say anything about yeah. Look where they made it and look how long they stayed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you're just sitting at home telling them that
you can't take that away from them. And everybody loves those guys. Like, they're clearly really good dudes who never stop working.
And I know them personally.
They're never ever coasting.
They're very and that's the thing. They were never coasting. That's probably the best way to put it. When I was trying to say, like, they really like put in the fucking work. They never coasted. Every opportunity they got, they put 110% in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, every single opportunity.
So what they used to say back when we were younger, and our generation used to say, students of the game.
No, 100%. And Harv, I think he was Samir, told a story about how like that spot off the Punjabi prison match was never in the match, and like they were just supposed to do like a regular run-in, but he kind of just pitched it to Orton, like, what if we do this? And then Orton's like, you know what? Are you guys down to do that? And they're like, yeah. He's like, okay, fuck it, let's do that. And then like he's like literally like 10 minutes later, Orton comes back and it was like, okay, we're doing that. And then you know, they did that spot and shit. And it's just like they made those pitches. They want to do that shit to make sure that they got their shine in any segment they were in. They wanted to create moments and do shit like that. And there are, I don't know, but I'm not saying I know, but I've read enough books and listened to enough podcasts and heard enough stories on the internet that there are some people that do just enjoy getting paid and like to sit in catering. Those weren't the guys. So,
no,
like,
they did not. They did not
yeah.
coast. They're always working. They're always trying to get better. They're always trying to get more creative. And I don't know. I don't think enough good things can be said about those guys.
And I will be hopefully in the next couple of months interviewing them very soon, and we'll dive more into that. So if you guys aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the TWC Show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you guys can hear me talk to the Singh brothers very soon. I mean, they said they just got to figure some shit out, and then they're down. So like, we'll do that. Did you have a chance or opportunity to go on the network and check out the 50th greatest tag teams at all?
I haven't seen the last one, but yeah, I watched them all.
Okay, so the last one, I'll just break it down to you. I think it was the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian.
Oh yeah, New Day number 1, right?
The Hart Foundation, the Hardy Boys, and then the New Day. Do you agree with the final 5?
Okay. Never been the biggest New Day guy. I've always loved their promos. I think they've had like the best promos. I love how they get like stuff that's like topical, and they always do the funny little inside jokes. They've been fantastic. If you're shocked or surprised or upset that they got put at number 1, I think you need to rethink where you've been for the last like 10 years. It's not surprising, and they're current. They're people the company loves, and you know what? I don't think the order of the list matters. I think if somebody made the list and you think you're happy they made the list, who cares what number they're at? But I'm not surprised they put New Day in number 1. I think given that a lot of people tag teams leave or whatever the fucking politics are, not surprised that they put New Day number 1.
Same here. And I think longevity, and they took something that wasn't supposed to work, and it's been working since 2014 till this day. They've been dominant as hell. I am not going to say I'm not a New Day fan, but I'm not the biggest New Day fan. I'm the first person to say I hate it when they win the tag titles because it's just so unnecessary most of the time. At this point, not at the beginning. Obviously, when they're winning the first bunch, I was like, obviously, let's go and stuff. But
it's okay. We like them and respect them, probably at least at first because they're feud with the Usos. But I think it's very hard to really be a hardcore fan of anybody, whether they're a team or singles, who is like never serious. So I think that's the one detractor for me, because they're pretty much never like serious. That makes it hard for me to really get into anyone. But that's the things they've done with the Usos, and they had stuff with I think the Wyatts and whoever else.
Thing is,
they had really good and big pay-per-view matches, but it's just sometimes you need to take things a little more serious for me to be like a really big fan of you.
My thing is, I still even have a hard time taking anyone from the past, I want to say like 2012 forward, and taking any of those dudes on the roster and putting them in my like top 10 favorites of all time, just because I feel like it's too new for me. I've been watching, and the people that I watched as a little kid, I kind of hold the higher significance to them, to how I feel about them and what they mean to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a totally
different.
And I think
as an older fan, I understand when you look at the stats and shit, like maybe New Day is, but I'm like, over the Hart Foundation, over Edge and Christian, over the Hart. Like, it's hard for me to comprehend that being an older fan, but I get it. And I think that was the hardest part for me. So I'm like,
there's a couple of things. I'll straight up say, the teams that we like the Dudleys or the Hart Foundation are better than anyone that's come since like the year, 2006 or something like that. First and foremost, they're just better. Their matches were better. Their style was better. Their, the connection with the crowd was better. Everything was just better. It is harder to put what's happening because it's in the last, 10, 15 years. The wrestling and the stories don't matter so much as just content and getting shows out. So, when we were growing up, the Dudley Boys were on Raw every week and having all these matches, but they had these big pay-per-view matches. You remember the moments. And, post 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, like, it's really hard to remember anything anyone does because it's like so much not only of the same shit, but it's just like you're just
content.
you're just seeing so much of it that it's hard to actually feel special. And you know, a lot of these people are special. Like someone like the New Day, like their feud with whether it's like the Wyatts or the Usos, like that is special. Those matches were special. Those promo segments were special. But there's just so much of it that you really, it's really hard for your brain to really like see them as that special when you're looking at, you know, someone like the Hart Foundation. You remember 2 out of 3 Falls matches. You remember matches against the Brain Busters. You remember WrestleMania 7 against the Nasty Boys, because there wasn't so much of it, and the stuff that they did put out was special. It was important. It was good.
No, that's what I mean. There's too much programming. There's just mostly everything. And mostly everything looks better looking back at it than when you actually live into it. So maybe if this list was made 10 years from now, I'd look back like, oh, the New Day, that fucking makes sense. But the fact that they're still so present and prevalent on television all the time, like, is it too soon to rank them as the greatest tag team of all time?
Right, yeah, and now? You know what?
I think that's the problem.
I think if it was done in 10 years from now, I don't think our opinions would change. Because, I mean, realistically, most things from when, like, Punk left to about now, a lot of it's kind of just like mishmash together.
Yeah, I mean, but there are some major tag teams, and that is like the New Day and the Usos. Like those are 2 tag teams that were
like the mid 2000s. There was like the Jericho time, or like
the
Eminem time, or Miz and Morrison time, or DX time. Like
this gives me
there's different segmented sort of generations. Even like just talking about like tag team wrestling, whereas like post 2014, 2015, it all kind of just seems like product for the sake of having wrestling on.
This just gave me, for long-time listeners, gave me 2 callbacks in my mind. The time where I said the Revival needs to work their way back up to the top. And when we had the argument about what's a traditional tag team and what's not a traditional tag team.
And it's funny because how high up were Owen and Bulldog on that list?
Fuck yeah, because they're a great tag team, but they weren't a traditional tag team.
Whatever you say.
They're a great tag team. But you know what? And when I talked to TJ, I was like, fuck, Devon would have been so happy that TJ said this. He's like, yo, there's no such thing as a traditional tag team. No 2 people actually wanted to come together and be a tag team. He's like, no. Brett and Jim Neidhart never had any intention to be a tag team.
I still don't understand what. I mean, I get what you mean. If it was like Bulldog and like Aldo Montoya, I would get it, but it's just like not only were they a tag team for quite a long time and have the tag straps, but like they're also family. So I'm like, what the fuck do you mean they're not traditional?
We're here now, so let me ask you, because we have never talked about this even in this show. How do you feel about Natalya and Tamina?
I think it's cool. I think
it is, right?
I think it's better than doing nothing with the belts, and I think it's one of those things where at WrestleMania, very clearly the crowd was behind at least Tamina. So you know what?
I wanted her to see her win a first belt.
Why not put the belts on them? It didn't kill the belts because the belts weren't that great anyways. It's probably put a better spotlight on the belts. They're both, as a team, I think they're better as a team than individuals. I've always thought and will always think that Natty was overrated. I think she's had one great match in her entire career that I can think of.
Charlotte, NXT.
Yeah, she's good. And I think a lot of why people call her great is probably because she's probably an incredible coach. She's probably very technically sound. But I mean, like when you're thinking about, Flair and Steamboat in '89, like Natalya doesn't fall into any of that kind of category. But
how do you feel about Nikki Cross being a superhero?
I think it looks like she's having fun. It sounds like, unlike almost everybody there, she's creatively satisfied. She's having a say in what she's doing on TV, and like it or hate it, that's what we ask for. We say let the wrestlers have a hand in their creative, let the wrestlers have a hand in their promos. So love it or hate it, they're giving her that, and I think if that's the case and she's having fun, I mean, it's not harming the show. It's kind of a fun part of the show. The crowd likes her. I like her. I'm all for it.
We hear so much about how wrestlers, when they leave, talk about how they pitch ideas that never happen. That's when we see an idea that was pitched by a wrestler and it's happening, we can't really complain about it. And to be honest with you, I like Nikki Cross when she was crazy. She got with Alexa Bliss and she got kind of normal, and I'm not going to lie, she got kind of boring. So her doing this was like, oh, now I'm like, oh, Nikki Cross, this is funny. It's something.
I like it. And she looks cute as hell while she's at it too.
Yeah. So this women's Money in the Bank, we'll just pick your brain on it. There's a couple of spots left. Obviously, I do think that Liv's going to get in there. This whole story about Liv beating Carmella and Zelina but not getting the match is going to lead to Liv getting in there. But do we see Sasha come back for the Money in the Bank, or do we wait till the fans? Well, there's going to be fans at Money in the Bank, but do we wait that night for her to come out there to be part of it, or do we wait till after? You can't do Bianca Bailey forever.
I'll be completely honest with you. I think Sasha's above it.
No, for sure. I don't think she needs to win it to face Bianca. But if that's the way they want to go, I'm not against it. Because we are getting Bianca Sasha to it.
I don't know what your opinion is, but we've seen since WrestleMania, the wrong woman won that night. So
yeah, let's talk about that because I don't hate Bianca, and I said it prior to
match in a big moment, but she's not. She needs a lot of work still.
That's it, and I said this prior to WrestleMania 2 when I was making predictions. I'm like, listen, I'm like, for her, I'm like, that's cool. I know there's part of me that wanted Sasha to still win. Obviously, you guys know this is a Sasha appreciation show, but there was also a part of me that like I knew Bianca was gonna win. I came to terms with it. Bianca's winning. She's won, but I'm like, it's gonna be sink or swim for her because they're giving her this opportunity really early, and we don't know how good it's gonna go.
If it wasn't for Bailey, who's probably the second best women's wrestler of the last 20 years, she's incredible. Only person better than her is Sasha. Her matches are great. Say what you want about, whether it's the way she looks or her character or whatever. Her matches, when it comes to it, are always good. She's a fantastic wrestler. And if it wasn't for Bailey, Bianca would be even lower than she is now.
And I have my own beefs with Bailey, but I'll never deny that she's been a good wrestler since day one. She's always been a good wrestler. And that's true. I think you have a point to that. And I don't know if it's the way she's being booked, but for me, I find myself most impressed with Bianca when Bianca gets to wrestle.
Yep.
When Bianca talks, I'm not that she's a bad talker. To be honest with you, this is the way I start thinking about. I'm like, well, if she was a heel and she got to be a little bit of a bitch, I think I'd like Bianca right now.
No,
because she is the baby face and she's cutting I worked so hard to be here and I did all this stuff promos every time she gets to get the mic. Like we've heard
I think if they let her be herself and let her be a bit of a bitch, I think she'd be a great baby face. But
yeah, that's what I mean, because
there's a common theme here. People that smile too much, they fucking suck. First of all,
and they script whatever.
You're not whoever you are outside of WWE. You're a character. You're not happy to be there. You are somebody with a purpose, with a message, with something. Like, say what you want about the Messiah character or whatever it was, but Seth Rollins doesn't act like whoever he is outside of WWE. He plays a character. He has a message. He has a purpose. He is who he is within WWE. It's not like I'm happy to be here or I was a fan or I've worked so hard. Everybody's worked hard, but you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody talks about how the $1 Million Man became a millionaire. They just talk about here's this rich guy that's now in WWE and you go from there. We don't need to know all the other shit. And I think someone like Bianca definitely seems like she has a personality. She's got some swag. She's got some sass, but she's not allowed to show it. And as long as she's not allowed to show it, she's not that interesting to me.
Yeah, because the stuff that I liked about Bianca prior to her being on the main roster, because I didn't watch NXT that much during that period, was the promos and stuff that I saw her cut, which is the complete opposite now. I'm like, I like Bianca's wrestling. But the promo she got to cut when she was in NXT and stuff was because she was a heel, was because she could be a bitch, because she had that swag and was, the whole, you don't even go here. That's Bianca. Now she's smiling. She's talking about how she earned this and she worked so hard to be here.
It is interesting.
It's not a Bianca problem. Give me 1 second. It's not a Bianca problem because, once again, being the biggest Sasha Banks fan, they did the same shit to her when she first came to the main roster and started winning titles and was over with the fans. She'd come out there and me and you would joke about how she's always talking about her dream, take a shot every time she uses the word dream. And she'd be smiling and it was like, yo, you're this legit boss, but now you're like this happy to be here. It's my dream character. And it just didn't click. She was always my favorite wrestler in the ring, but the promos didn't click. This last title reign Sasha had after breaking up with Bailey and winning the belt, where Sasha was a babyface, but she was still a little bit of a bitch and still had her edge. That's who she is. You like her or you dislike her, but that she is who she is. She knows she's arrogant, she's cocky, she knows how good she is, and she's the champion. Bianca is kind of knows how good she is and whatnot, but it's still a little cheesy.
Well, it's interesting because she used to be good on the mic, but a shitty wrestler. Now she's actually becoming a good wrestler, but I don't want to see a second of her on the mic.
I think it's maybe because the promos on the main roster are a little bit more micromanaged than they probably were in NXT, and they're writing for her and she's playing good and doing what they're telling her to say. I don't know if that's the case, but I just hope they let her be a little bit more like herself, like you said. And
it's simple. All she needs to say is to whoever she's wrestling or to the entire division, nobody's got here as fast as I have. Nobody's got to the top as fast as I have. Nobody can touch me. That's all you need to say.
When was the last time she said she was the EST of anything? Or maybe I'm just missing it.
25 seconds, she just says a couple of those things. Boom! I want to see her wrestle someone. That's and
I just want to my other listeners out there, and I know there's a lot of you out there that might be listeners, friends of mine that are really big Bianca fans. Listen, I'm not saying I hate Bianca or I dislike Bianca. There's something about it that's not clicking right now.
Oh no, definitely. I don't got anything bad to say about her. She's just not.
And I've gotten in fights with people on Clubhouse because I'd say this type of stuff. They're like, no, you guys are hardcore fans, and I get it. And I'm just saying, and this is the thing, like,
how do you
I know that these months
a fan of someone who's done nothing and has really never said anything. How do you become a hardcore fan of somebody who's so brand new? She hasn't done anything yet. I think she can be great, but you know what? Look at all of the all-time greats, years and years and years before they get to the top and they become memorable. She's been around for a few years. Like, it'll come. I'm sorry, if you're a hardcore fan of Bianca Belair, you're lying. And you're trying too hard to stand for somebody, and you actually don't really know what you're a fan of. You can just say you're attracted to her, or you like her because she's a black woman, or you like her hair, or you like the way she's strong. But you can't be that big of a fan of her because she's never really done anything.
Yeah. And also, like, we're in that period now. Like, we know, like, and that's the other thing that kind of makes it think it a little bit more tough is because I don't know. There's obviously going to be those people that are on the other side, but I know that every match that Bianca's had since WrestleMania, she was going to win. I just knew. I'm like, they're building her up for her to go back to Sasha. So that's why it kind of makes it a little hard for me because at no point did I actually think Bayley was ever gonna beat her. And that kind of and don't get me wrong, Bayley's a perfect threat to make you think that. It just, in my mind, I was like, they're not gonna let Bianca lose till she gets back to Sasha. Now that being said, I'm calling it right now. SummerSlam Sasha Bianca. I want Sasha to win. And then
I think they will, because not only is it good for the chase, but yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, then you're right. It's good for chase, and it's back to that rubber match. Now it's 1-1.
And I'm sorry, but I mean, Bianca wouldn't be the first person that had a big loss on her way to the top. Like the wrong person won at WrestleMania, straight up.
That's the other thing too, right? Like I remember saying, I think Sasha should win at Mania, and then Bianca win at SummerSlam. But if that's the case,
the SmackDown Women's Division was dope when Sasha was champion, and it's meant nothing since WrestleMania. And what they could have done was have Sasha win and then Bianca win at SummerSlam. You would have had another 4 or 5 months of the SmackDown Women's Division actually meaning something.
Yeah, and you know what? And I also would have liked Bianca not. And don't worry, I love the matches Bianca and Bayley have been having. Actually, they've been
good. They've been really good.
Been good. But I would have liked if they mixed. Now we're getting Bianca Bayley 3, and it's like, like just mix up, like throw Bianca in there with a pay-per-view match against Carmella or something. Just mix up for 1 month, to give us something else, and then have Sasha come back.
Like you're doing with Roman. Throw in a Ray, throw in a Kevin, throw in a,
and I'm not even just trying to, hype up Carmella, but she's proven every single time you put in a big match situation, she'll do it.
Back in the day with Cena, it would be like Swagger gets a match, or Ziggler gets a match.
Yeah, or Truth had a match.
We both went there. I mean, like, just give people title match, because you know what? In the end, no matter how much they devalue them, we care about titles. So if you put 2 people together and make it for the title, we'll fucking care.
Speaking about enough about SmackDown, but like I'll say, I agree with that, and I think we both have a point with Bianca. But she's doing good. It's not hitting how I thought it was. But
she's doing bad. No, it's just
but that was supposed to be a transition though, because what has been bad is the other experiment on the other side with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think anything that Charlotte's crackhead looking ass touches is just gonna suck.
Listen, Charlotte's great. She's not great.
She's not great.
So, if anything, she's the best thing about what's happening over there.
Everything she does that doesn't involve Sasha Banks or Ronda Rousey sucks.
Or Becky.
Think about it. A lot of that stuff with Becky wasn't. A lot of stuff with Becky. Charlotte's matches with Asuka is good. All of the interactions suck. The stuff with Becky, not that great either. Everything she does sucks.
She's the best thing about what's going on over there, because honestly, Rhea's just been them turning Rhea heel is like the worst thing.
I'm sorry, Charlotte making angry faces while she gets skinnier and her hair gets straighter that's not good.
I don't know. I just think I was on the board of like, just put the belt back on Charlotte now, because Rhea needs to figure some shit out.
It means nothing. The belt means nothing.
I just think of the whole period after Rhea lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania and they put her back at NXT, and then she lost a triple threat match with Io in it, and then she was like fighting, like all that kind of hurt her stock. If she came to the main roster, after that probably would have been different. I can't say, because look what happened to Shayna Baszler. Anything's possible.
Listen, main roster, that was a spree killing. Rhea Ripley and Keith Lee got murdered at the exact same time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're right. You heard about Keith Lee, right? He's fighting for his legal name in court.
What do you mean?
Like, that's where he's been. He's fighting for his birth name against WWE in court because Keith Lee is his name, and then they tried trademarking it.
That's why he's not on TV?
Reportedly.
I mean, that guy's probably...
And also why Mia Yim's on TV.
That guy's probably like a top 5 guy they have, and he's been just missing.
Yeah, and that's why I think if he was around, like, we probably wouldn't have got Drew Bobby 10 million thousand times in the past year.
Nope.
Because obviously there are top guys in Raw. Don't be wrong, like, but Orton's doing his thing now with RK Bro.
Honestly, that's bullshit. Why are you trying to trademark somebody's birth name, dude? You let him come and work under that name, so fuck yourself.
Yeah, so that's technically reportedly where he's at.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I totally forgot about that.
I just found out like 2 days ago. Someone else told me. I was like, "What the? Oh, that's where he is." I thought he was sick. Like, no, he's actually in a legal battle over his birth name that his mama gave him, and I'm like, oh. But yeah, no, but like, you know, there's a lack of top guys in Raw. We know there's a shakeup in October, and there's a lack of top guys. A lot of the top guys are doing other things, like AJ's with Omos as tag champions for some reason. Still
love it.
And I love RK Bro. I fuck with RK Bro a lot. Like, Riddle and Orton is dope.
And the best part of Raw for a minute here.
It really has been. And you know, and I actually am. When they're looking for new top guys, I'm actually really glad they went back to Kofi. I'm not mad about it.
Dude, how good is that guy on the mic, dude? When they put him in a program that matters, he is top elite on the mic, dude. Holy shit. Put some respect on my boy's name.
But for months now, the back and forth with him and MVP have been great. And
So
leading to this
good,
moment.
man. Oh my god, he is.
I almost want Kofi to win.
Oh my god, he can't be serious. He definitely can't be serious, and when he does, he's fucking good at it.
This is Kofi's rematch for the title since losing to Brock in 2018.
Yep.
This is finally his championship rematch. And you know, I wouldn't mind Kofi winning the belt. I think Lashley's had a great reign. If Lashley continues, I'm also down with that too. But I think Lashley's already had a great reign. And I also don't think this is Lashley's last reign with that title. I think he's a guy that would actually put the title back on.
I would totally love it if Kofi won and we got a few months of New Day Kofi as the champ. I think Raw would really benefit from that.
Yeah, and I have no idea who's gonna win the men's Money in the Bank, so that's always up in the air, right? Like, I actually have no idea this year. Like, Morrison's in there, Riddle, Drew McIntyre. There's a chance McIntyre wins and cashes in on Roman and goes to SmackDown, and that's our SummerSlam main event.
Yeah, I think they'd rather save that for one of those mean nothing pay-per-views after September.
Okay, because after maybe a shakeup. I don't. You know me, I don't give a rat's ass if John Cena comes back or not, but that's the other rumor around the mill.
Yeah, I'd rather see Brock, Roman, and Cena Lashley, to be honest with you.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. Perfect. So I was like, I don't want to see
Cena Brock as this character.
I don't want to see Cena Roman. I don't. But
I do. Maybe at Mania. I really want to see Roman beat up Brock as this version of Roman and just send Brock away.
That would be cool. And I think if Cena was to come back, him, one, being on Raw, which really fucking needs it, and two, him working with Lashley does a lot more for Lashley than, you know, Roman maybe going over Cena again.
That'd be great.
That'd
be fantastic. I could even live with a Cena McIntyre Lashley thing, to be honest.
No, 100%.
Because I think Cena McIntyre would be the money match on Raw. Not Cena.
No, for sure. And it's something that should happen. I don't know. I mean, this is the inevitable, right? And we're seeing it more and more as the weeks have built up. And if you watched Talking Smack last Saturday, you saw Seth Rollins anger the fact that Edge is getting this title shot against Roman Reigns. We're getting Edge and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, correct?
Yeah, that's just one we've just kind of always wanted. Even when Edge was retired, we were always like, that'd be good. Nobody knows why. It's just one of those things your brain goes to.
And Edge always put over Seth Rollins in his podcast and stuff. And there was that whole callback to when they had to get the Authority rehired, and Rollins was gonna break Edge's neck again.
Stack a damn neck.
Yeah, and I think the reason why is obviously not the wrestling styles, But there's something similar between Seth and Edge in the way that they're heels.
They're just good.
And the slimy heels. And it was like that's
decent when they're bad. They're both kind of similar body types. Just kind of work their way up and just I don't know, just kind of guys.
2015 Seth does remind me of like early rated RKO.
Yeah, big time. I mean, if I can get Edge and Seth, and I can get Edge and AJ, Edge can just go retire after that. I'm good.
Listen, I have my love-hate for Edge right now because I just don't like being in the title picture. As you know, I watched WrestleMania 3. You know how happy I was that he did not win, and I'm a little bit over the Edge return. But I'm okay. I think I'll be way more hyped when he's not in the title picture no more.
And you know what? I think I'm not alone in saying this, and I think you'll probably agree. The best formula was when Shawn Michaels just had feud after feud that was always just like personal with someone, was never really around the title. That's the best formula for someone like that.
Yeah, and I will say like blatantly right now, I do not care to see Edge win a world title in this last run he has right now. Not even one.
You know what? Me neither. And I'm not sure why, but I want to see him wrestle people that he never got to wrestle.
I want to see him wrestle people. I want him to have programs with people.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see him wrestle those people in decent storylines. Him having the belt, we're lucky and blessed to get this second run. So let's see him. Like I said, give me AJ, give me Rollins, give me Owens, and whoever else.
I watched the 2020 Rumble back like a few days ago. And I'm like, it's so crazy. Like, I understand he got injured and stuff. I'm like, since Edge has come back, all we've seen him work with is with Orton, which was fucking cool. It was cool. And we hope he didn't get injured so he could have worked with more guys throughout the year. But like it was cool that he worked with Orton, but then after that it was just Brian Roman and that's it. Like, and then that match was like, it's gonna be sick when he wrestles AJ, it's gonna be sick when he wrestles Owens, it'd be sick when he wrestles Aleister Black, it'd be sick when and like none of that shit's happened.
Yeah, that Rollins stuff went on for far too long.
Yeah. What Rollins stuff?
Orton.
Oh, the Orton stuff, but that's fine because it only went 2 months and then he got injured. That was the fucking problem.
But it was what, 3 matches?
Yeah, it was 3 matches.
It's too much.
No, 2. It was only WrestleMania and then the greatest match ever.
The greatest match of all time.
No, that was it, and then he got hurt. If he didn't get hurt, I think we'd be talking about it differently right now.
I don't think we're alone in that thought. We just want to see Edge have a couple month-long programs with some.
I want to see Edge and Owens, Edge and Rollins,
McIntyre, Owens, Rollins. I really want to see him and AJ, man.
Fuck, I want to see Edge and Sami Zayn. I don't give a fuck.
Me too. Me too.
Give me that match on SmackDown. Like I don't know. That's what I want to see. That's what I was looking. I got hyped when Edge went to NXT and said maybe I'll hang out down here. I'm like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I was like, seriously? You didn't see Edge and Finn Balor? Let's go.
Like that's what I want to see. I don't want to see Edge. I don't want to see Edge in the Universal title.
Opportunities are endless. We don't need to see this him and Roman thing right now.
No, that's why I got so happy when Brian got added to the match. I'm like, fuck, thank you. Like, but it's inevitable. Like the way they booked it, Rollins asked for a title shot, didn't get it. They gave it to Edge. Rollins is now trying to qualify to get in the Money in the Bank next week. He's gonna. There's 2 things that could happen here. Either
Rollins better cost Edge the match.
Either Edge wins and Rollins cashes in, which would be stupid, or
that'd be fantastic. Edge wins, but not because like cleanly, like cheating to beat Roman, and then Seth Rollins cashes in. That'd be sick.
That'd be something. Or you just have Edge Rollins cost him the match, and we move forward with that.
I love Money in the Bank. I hope they don't fuck it up like they did last year.
I'm not. Let me ask about that because that was the next article I was going to write for 1:37 p.m. was my top 10 cash-ins, and there are a couple that did happen the same night, but I'm never really a fan when it happens on the same night.
I don't think I don't care if it makes sense. I'm okay with it.
The only time I liked it happening on the same night was when Dean did it, just because the whole Shield situation.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Because Roman was the champ and Seth won it and then Dean won it and like all 3 members of the Shield were champions on the same night. But other than that, like Kane did it the same night against Rey Mysterio. I didn't care. Bayley did it the same night on Charlotte after Becky lost to Charlotte, which I guess is kind of like the Shield situation with the 4 horsewomen, but I just didn't care. And the good thing that came out of that is that Bayley turned heel like the week after with a new haircut and shit. And then Alexa did it the same night on Nia Jax.
Oh yeah. I don't. Yeah.
But you see, like I don't like that because it's like, well, now the rest of the year we don't have like a miss Money in the Bank. I don't fucking know. But the Dean one was the only one I care about. What was your favorite cash-in? I know which one it should be for you because you were there.
I mean, Rollins is the obvious one, right?
Yeah, the heist of the century. Okay, so we're gonna rule out Rollins because I think that's my favorite one too.
Because I think that's the obvious one. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think.
So my number 2, personally, would because I'm gonna do this list, so I'll just give you guys my number 2 already. Is I really fucking fucked with Ziggler's cash in.
Yeah, and I think I would maybe like that one more than the Rollins one, to be honest with you, just because we all have our fun making fun of Dolph Ziggler, but at that time I think we were all ready for it.
There's been many times we've been ready for it, and that was the one time we actually got it, And then as I was making my list, because I already made the list, the one thing I noticed about Money in the Bank that I do like, and it kind of tells you who probably should win the Money in the Bank, because I was looking at my list of the Money in the Bank cash-ins that I picked out of the 10, and number 10 and 9, the top 2 at the top, are the only ones where the person that cashed in was already a multiple-time champion. All the rest of my list is people that won the title for the first time by cashing in, and they got to use it in that sort of underdog, might have not got a title opportunity way, Does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry, there's a little distraction going on here right now. Dogs and drunk brothers. Tired girlfriend. My girlfriend got her second COVID shot. She's starting to feel it, I think.
I'm still waiting for my second one. Do they call you, or are you supposed to get like a text?
I had texted. I'm going July 8th.
Oh shit.
Yeah, sorry about the interruption there. My apologies.
It's all good. But I was just saying, like, my favorite cash-ins are when it comes from someone that was like an underdog or unexpected to win the title anytime soon.
Was it Brian on Big Show?
Yeah, that was his first.
I remember liking that one too.
Oh, that's not on my list. That was
I remember liking that one too, because I remember the one spot. I think it was the Elimination Chamber or whatever, where Big Show was like breaking out just to kick the shit out of Brian, and then Brian beat up the Big Show and Mark Henry too.
Yeah. Good old Brian. That was the rise of Brian, right? He was that heel that ended up becoming the lovable heel, and then onto a baby face. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to Money in the Bank. It is one of the there's only out of all the gimmick pay-per-views, there's only 2 gimmick pay-per-views I really fuck with, and that's a Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank. I hate Hell in the Cell. I don't like TLC and shit. But.
You know what? Even though what happened last year, I'll chalk it up to pandemic times. I'm still in for Money in the Bank and of course Royal Rumble.
I enjoyed how creative they were with it last year, though. Even though it's kind of stupid.
It was Chamber. It always ends up good, but I'm done with Hell in the Cell.
I'm just done with gimmick. I don't like Elimination Chamber being a gimmick pay-per-view either. I don't
like the
picks are going to Elimination Chamber out of nowhere,
It's like have Hell in a Cell where it matters. Who cares what pay-per-view it's on?
100%. Because honestly, like, I didn't think Bayley and Bianca were having that heated of a feud that they need to be in a cell. There was matches on that card that could have been the cell.
That match was good, though, to be fair.
But there was matches on that card that seemed more personal and should have been the cell, like Zayn and Owens and Cesaro and Seth. But instead, we got matches that didn't seem that personal with the build-up that ended up in the cell. I was just kind of like, what the fuck? And then plus, we got to sell on a Monday and we got to sell on a Friday. So it was a weird Hell in the Cell period.
I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah. AEW. Fans have been back. They're going to be back moving forward. They're back on the road. And their last, that 3-minute video package they put at the end, highlighting their time in the Daily's place in the pandemic era, and just realizing how much they fucking did in that year, a little over a year that they've been in Daily's place and during this pandemic era. Like, I'm like, yo, there's a lot of weeks where I get fucking annoyed with the program. Like, yo, that was shitty and stuff. But like, there was a lot of golden moments.
I think, and the thing is, here's the thing. I think their really great stuff isn't that great, but I also think their bad isn't that bad. I think it's pretty watchable episodic television. I think they do a good job of at least making you want to tune into next week, and I like that they promote stuff for the next week and the week after. I think they've done a lot better than anyone would have anticipated.
And honestly, that's the thing. I always look forward to watching it. It is one of those shows where sometimes I do feel like I need to watch it twice. Because being an old school wrestling fan, sometimes the wrestling is too much for me.
And you know what?
I need to watch matches twice because I miss shit.
I'll say one thing. I don't watch AEW regularly, but their promotion has to be good because when I tune in, it's because they've hyped up something so much that I'm like, I actually have to see this.
And
I tuned in this week because I'm like, oh, I got to see MGF and Guevara. Why?
Yeah.
I don't even watch every week. Why did I feel that? I just felt it. Like I was just even that tag match with the Bucks. Like, oh, Bucks are bad guys now. Oh, they're fighting Penta and whatever. I got to tune in to see this. Like,
how funny were the Bucks porn stashes and Kenny Omega's handlebars and.
Yeah, it's actually funny, but I actually think that's who the Bucks really are. To be fair,
I thought they're just fucking with people. We'll find out on being the
I think that's why this characters for them. I think this is who they are. They're smug bastards.
As much as they do promote stuff, and I do appreciate that they promote what's going to happen next week and stuff, I do like that even this week they had that odd surprise where we came back from commercial and Tully Blanchard was just in the ring and then Conan came on. I was like, oh, this is a totally unexpected, they didn't promote this segment, and it was kind of nice that we had like a random segment because that's some of the shit I missed from back in the day. When shit didn't seem so planned,
Of course, we get surprises and shit sort of plays out how it plays out. But I'm saying, like,
I like how they promote shit too. But I like
3 matches. I have 1 or 2 or 3 matches. They're like, hey, if you want to see this, tune in next week. And some of those, I'm just like, hey, yeah, I'd actually like to check that out.
No, I like how they promote their matches. I'd be down if they didn't promote their segments so often. That a segment just happened like this week. How that just happened, and I was like, oh. So I can't change a channel because if I leave, some cool segment might just randomly happen. I'm gonna miss it, That's just the way I think it should be. I don't know. I really enjoyed Sammy versus MJF. Those two are two.
Really good.
They have an undercard there, not even an undercard because all these guys are on top of the card like Sammy and MJF, but they have a future in their roster in guys like MJF, Sammy, Jungle Boy. You brought Flying Brian Pillman if they keep him.
Darby,
Ricky Starks, Darby, like there's a Ethan Page himself, like there's a whole young roster of guys that could be top guys when people move forward. And these guys had a banger. I enjoyed it from start to finish.
It was really good.
I don't critique matches. I'm not a guy that's gonna sit and critique matches. Was there some shit at the end where I was like, okay, maybe that should have finished the match? Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe there was one spot too many at the end. Like this is one false finish too many. That's all I'm saying. Whatever. I like it overall though. At the end of the day, I like the match, but there's one false finish too many. That's all I'm gonna say. And it continues the Inner Circle Pinnacle stuff, and the other stuff I really enjoyed about AEW was the rise of Hangman. Now the Dark Order's trying to pursue him to go after Kenny, and like I said, that's who I thought was gonna beat Kenny for the belt eventually. And I think
I mean we'll see where it goes. I don't give a shit about that right now.
I do. I want Hangman to come back to the top. He's been coasting down there, just beating dudes.
He had a cup of coffee at the top. I don't know if you could say you want him back to the top.
I mean, back in the title picture, going after the championship. But yeah. Otherwise, the show was good. I don't know. Like we don't know what Andrade's surprise is. No longer Zelina Vega being his manager. So, because I like him with Vicky, but he could have a better manager.
I don't know. Maybe he'll put on a mask and have two.
I mean, he's wrestling next week against Matt Sydal.
I love that guy. I hope he does well.
And Jim Ross called the WWE Dynamite at the end of the show after the last Daily Play show, after the nice, beautiful video package. If you were saying WWE for over 20 years, it's a fair mistake.
Yeah, he's only seemed to make those snafus with these guys, though, so who knows?
No, man, Jim Ross used to fuck up a lot during the Attitude Era and shit, too. We just didn't care as much. We went as
maybe
Twitter wasn't around. I remember one time Undertaker and Kane were coming out, and he's like, it's Kane and Kane. Like, he just,
Yeah, that's a lot different than him saying,
calling Kenny Omega the WWE champion.
Saying that the WCW tag belts or something, you know what I mean? Same. He's just, and you know what? I think he's really trying. I just think age is starting to really catch up on him. And it's like old fighters. They've got it in their mind, but sometimes their body doesn't agree. He
would be good a part of the team, but he shouldn't be the guy running the team. Does that make sense?
It's got to be Shivani.
Like Shivani's a part of the team, and he's having a fucking great time.
Shivani sounds like he's 30 years old still.
Yeah, Shivani is like, but he's not leading the team. You know what I mean? JR is technically leading that team. Excalibur about the moves.
No, it should be. Shivani is a great host, great voice, sounds youthful.
Yeah, but I think Shivani sounds the way he does because he is just having fun. He has no leading the team responsibility. Whereas I think Jim Ross feels like there's more pressure on him being like the head, I guess. Because I think Excalibur's role is to know what the modern moves are and what everyone's background is and their independent history and shit like that. Ross is calling the match, and like I guess Tony would technically be like color, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. What's his name? The mask guy. He's like Tenay, Excalibur.
Yeah, I mean, because like like I listen to Tony and what is it? Tony and Taz on Dark, like they're fucking hilarious on there when those guys are together. And there's Tony and Big Show on Elevation. They just seem like they're having a grand old time. Like like.
Yeah, Taz is another one too. I mean, same thing I said about Shivani. Like they sound full of energy. He sounds young, and I mean, you kind of need that. JR doesn't sound full of energy and young, and
like if it was
Shivani aren't that far apart. They're only like 4 or 5 years apart in age. So
if it was Shivani, Taz, and Excalibur, and like Taz, didn't have like the Team Taz situation going on, like that'd be a great commentary team, and just have JR doing the backstage interview shit, the sit downs and stuff, in ring interviews with JR, like they'd make Shivani do those things, but like mix it up. I don't know.
Yeah, JR might be.
Anything else you want to talk about when it comes to terms of Dynamite and shit?
No, I mean it's up to you. I think
we're good.
Yeah,
Episode 100, WWE Dynamite. We made it.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking at the calendar here. I mean, I'd love to try and be a part of 101 too. I think there's a bunch of stuff we can cover next week that we didn't cover today.
Yeah, we'll come a little bit more.
I think yeah, me and you we'll come up with their own sort of lists and or talking points or reflections or fantasy booking. I missed this. This was fun.
Yeah, let's rock and roll, bro. And shout out to fucking Jungle Boy who's dating Anna J. He's a champion.
Legend. Automatically the top guy in AEW.
Jungle Boy has become Jungle Man.
Automatically the top guy in my books now. He's top guy.
He might not have beat Omega.
He's the top guy. He's top guy now. He's top guy.
Other than that, guys, keep doing the thing. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you guys subscribe. Check out the Patreon. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to the show. If you're a Patreon user, you get to check the show in different versions. And make sure you guys,
tune in next week. I won't be as nice to Justin next week. I'll bring back some of the old.
Yeah, I mean, he was still same old Devon. Talk shit about Charlotte. Talk shit about some shit. He's still here. So
she needs rehab.
Very honest. Very blunt.
She's been smoking too much.
Doesn't cut any fucking edges on how he feels, and that's what we love. So see you all next week, guys, and hopefully the band stays together here. The original outsiders. The original DX. This is like
brother.
This is Shawn and Triple H before X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws came through and shit.
You gotta call your friends.
You gotta look at your blood.
Look to the click.
Oh my god. Oh man, there's so much more I could just continue talking about, but we're not gonna do that right now. I was gonna be like, man, they really need to get NXT back in Survivor Series. But anyways, other than that, guys, keep doing the thing. Tune in next week, and we'll see you all later. Ooh, yeah, dig it.